trapped in situations with flexible morality. Raghavan's next film, Johnny Gadar 2007, was an exquisitely written and performed crime thriller, a study of slow burn implosion caused by the greed and betrayal. While Ek Hasina Thi and Johnny Gadar were intimate films, Shri Ram's next film, Agent Vinod 2012, was an ambitious spy thriller that traveled continents. Here, Shri Ram doffs his hat to the 1977 film of the same name while sending Saif Ali Khan to undertake a globe-trotting mission. 2015 saw Shri Ram return to the screens with a chilling and revenge drama Badlapur. His last film, Andhadhun 2018, was a funny, thrilling yet macabre film which IMD called as the top Indian film of 2018. Shri Ram is presently working on the film titled Merry Christmas with Vijay Sethupathi and Katrina Kaif. Is it over the top? No, I think Shri Ram's films are so brilliant that we cannot quite begin conversation without referring to those films. What I will do in this conversation is I have a few things that I want to ask him, which I think are relevant and useful for everyone. So after about half of this session, I will open this up for you to ask your own questions of Shri Ram. My first question to Shri Ram is, and we see in his films, he has seen one hell of a lot of films, which a lot of FTI people do. We are exposed to the best of Indian and international cinema, but Shri Ram seems to have seen films that nobody's even heard of, and I don't know where he found time and how he did that. So my first question is, where this thing of watching films, I mean, how did it start in your case?
No, see, I mean, I love movies. So right from, and luckily my parents also loved movies. So it was like not so difficult to watch some movies. But of course, they took me to, the safe movies, Ben-Hur and stuff like that. So on our own, then you cross a certain age, you make some little money, you can start watching on your own. So in Pune at that time, when I grew up, there was no such access to films. So there used to be only matinee shows and things like that. So we had a lot of time. So I've seen most of these classic films which you watch probably now in bad prints on YouTube or somewhere on the big screen, plus the institute. So it's like it's a constant. I only love movies. I mean, I've not done too much else in life, so except watching.
But where did you see Parvana, for example, and how did you see Parvana?
See, in the 70s, all these movies used to be, even if they used to be re-released, and especially once Mr. Bachchan became a big star, all his older movies which didn't work before Zanjeer also used to come on big screens and people used to watch them. And and of course many of them are now available on all kinds of formats. So there's a whole kind of treasure to discover among Indian cinema, mainstream cinema actually.
Thank you for saying that. So what took you to, or even before that, you worked in Stardust and Trade Guide, is that correct, as a journalist? And so what would take you to become a film journalist?
Actually, I used to do some little bit of writing when I was in college and school and, write for Indian Express, some funny article and make some money kind of a thing. And I used to like writing and I wanted to get into journalism because that was it was the time of Indian Express and Arun Shourie and all that, So you wanted to get into writing in that sense, but I had a very bad stammer. Very bad. I mean, it was like, now I don't have it. If I even try to imitate it, it doesn't come so easily, But I used to have a very bad stammer, which used to inhibit me a lot in terms of, going out and doing things, talking to people and so on. So, but I did when I went to Bombay, I got a job in Stardust as a trainee actually. And because I loved movies, I said, let me join. But after 4 months, luckily for me and for them, they chucked me out because I was just no good at that, So I used to go to functions and I used to attend the function and come back. I'm supposed to write about it and whatever. I didn't know what to write because nothing. It was a good function, but you're supposed to watch somebody's something. It's like a lot of masala you have to do. Which I was not good at. So I was chucked out. But I had made a few friends who were working in Trade Guide and other film other film magazines and so on. So I joined Trade Guide where I spent a year and a half almost, which was a great thing because it's completely trade related. Nowadays those magazines don't exist, but they used to, and the collections come on Thursday night from all over the country, and you compile that and all that. It's a very technical, is the movie going to work or not? It is not about the aesthetics of a movie. But you get to meet a whole lot of filmmakers and so on. And through that, I met Mukul Anand, who was making a second film. And I told him, actually, I want to learn filmmaking. How do I do it? And I didn't want to join the institute because I was from Pune, and I felt another 3 years there would be like, sort of a drain on my parents also and so on. So he said, okay, you join me, you won't pay me, but you join me, from next movie. So I joined them, and after 2-3 months, they started paying also. It's not that they didn't pay. And then as a lark, I applied to the institute because a couple of my friends were applying. And almost by Kismat, I got a chance to go to the interview because we were actually shooting those days when the interview was happening. And I was shooting in Khandala, but for some reason, that day the shoot got cancelled. So I said, okay, might as well go and attend otherwise I would not have joined the institute. So I joined, I got in and I asked Mukul and I asked Saeed Mirza. A lot of people I knew, because I was the journalist, should I join or not? This guy is just doing a whole lot of films now. Should I join or will it work? So everyone told me to join actually. So including Mukul Anand told me, Saeed Mirza, everybody. Saeed Mirza said something very strange. I don't know. He said, I said, what do you think? Should the institute, will it help or not? He said any institution, he didn't mention the FTI especially, will polish a pebble and dim a diamond. So, so I don't know what I am. A polished pebble for sure.
Certainly polished you, but I don't know if it dimmed people as well. But that's an interesting comment. I want to ask you this, and I have sort of, been going over this. What is it that you learn in Film Institute? I mean, how does it change you as a person and as an artist and filmmaker?
I think, of course, you have a certain syllabus and the academic, the classes and all that. But largely, it is the interactions you have with your own, the whole, all the students. We all love cinema, and there used to be so much. Some people like a certain kind of movies, something else. So I think that whole 3 years experience of that, plus of course the fact that you are doing some exercises every 3 months or 4 months, so. And you make all the mistakes you can, and so it's learning in a different way. Today, I don't know, I'm sure you can, you don't have to be in the institute to make a film, In fact, many of the great filmmakers I know have not joined any film school. So, but it definitely helps certain people to really, enjoy. If you have the time to enjoy 3 years of just learning, you can.
Yeah. And while on that subject, I want to ask you about your diploma film, which got numerous awards, including the National Award. The eighth column affair, there are two questions. One is that you seem to have, and if people do not know, in the diploma film that Shriram made at the Institute, his editor was Raju Hirani. His sound recordist was Bishwadeep Chatterjee. His actor was, one of the actors was Nana Patekar. This is incredible for a Film Institute diploma film in terms of the talent that you have been able to garner into your crew. So how does it happen? Did you have a great insight into talent, or was it chance,
No.
or how does that work?
No, I think Raju and Bishwadeep and Hari was my cameraman. We were actually, we are in the institute. What happens? You spend 1 year together, then you make your unit. So in that time, you get to know, people. You get to know certain people's aesthetic and who you get along with. There were a lot of other terrific people who were who loved a very European and another kind of film approach they had, Whereas we were like Raju and I, we have grown up on Hindi movies, and so we naturally got along. I remember I once went to the canteen and said, I'm buying advance for Mard. Anybody interested? So a lot of people looked at me like, in the institute to say, Mard ka advance booking you're going to do. It's like quite eyebrows were raised. So yeah, it's a team that happens. And Nana Patekar actually has got a very small, just a 2 hours role in the film. Okay, my diploma film, I don't know, it is available on YouTube in a very, very bad print. So you can check it out if you want. But yeah, so Nana Patekar, because Shiv Subramaniam was my actor, and Shiv was writing and working on Parinda. So I told him I need a big star for one sequence, just a cameo kind of thing. And Nana happened to be in Pune at that time. So we went to meet him. And he said, look, I'm shooting in Bombay. You come to my house and shoot. 2 hours, you come to my building, and we shot outside his building only. We just needed a small sequence. So yeah, that's how it is.
And in your subsequent films, while all your films are very contemporary, placed in a very contemporary setting, I see that you go back to your earliest references of Hindi cinema in terms of some actors that you cast. and in terms of some songs that feature in your film from that era. So specifically, I want to ask you, how was it working with Dharamji in Johnny Gaddar?
See, working with Dharamji was like working with a very hungry newcomer. You know, it's like that. He's at that time when when we were doing that film, I went to approach him. He was a member of parliament, and I thought most probably he'll tell me, you know, shake my hands and say, okay, bye. So, but luckily he loved the character and so on. And he, I think, is a man who's just hungry to work, and he just loves the camera, and the camera loves him, you know. So, and we needed a character like that, one, you know, old school, charming gangster. So, he was the best guy for that, and luckily he agreed. So that was it. And then we shot with him about 10 days. So that's it. But we had a great time because with these guys, the good thing also is when the lighting is happening, you can listen to a lot of stories about earlier films and, you know, all the anecdotes which don't exist otherwise, you know.
Yeah. And Anil Dhawan?
Well, in Andhadhun, because I needed a star to, I mean, I needed some sort of old retired actor. So Anil Dhawan, I had worked with his nephew Varun Dhawan before, and Anil Dhawan has a sort of, he's also from the institute, by the way. Na? He is from the institute.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of lovely songs. I mean, in his films, there are terrific songs, some songs. So I thought it would be great to take a fictitious actor and take a real actor and make him a fictional character and use his old stuff, you know, just so that it was a very, a minor brainwave, but it really helped. So it's like that, you know.
One of the things that I think everyone feels about your film is your mise-en-scène is very strong, your shot taking is amazing. The way you construct a scene, and I'm reminded of one scene which I'm sharing with everyone, is the scene in Badlapur where Raghu has sex with Coco and it completely shatters the husband without Raghu even touching Coco. So that whole scene is built on incredibly ingenious sound design. I just want to ask you, what is your thought process in making scenes like that?
See, Badlapur is actually based on an Italian story, you know, by a writer Massimo Carlotto. So when I read this his book, what happened is it's a very bleak book, and it is not, the structure is also different from the movie. But even though it's a bleak book, I had no idea how was it going to unfold after a point, you know. And I actually stopped that. I'm sort of maybe going somewhere else. But so midway I stopped the book, and it's a thin book. And I told my friends, okay, this is what's happened so far. Now let us try and think, my writers, you know, so-called, we all work together. So let us try and think how does it go forth, you know, what happens next. So we each tried a couple of scenarios, and nothing was really appealing to me. I said, if this is the end, then it's no fun. You know, what kind of a story is it? Then, with a lot of trepidation, I opened the next page and started reading the next chapter, and it actually was something which we had not thought of, and it gave me a vague feeling of kind of a sense of unease and satisfaction in the end when you finish the book. You know, so. What was your question? I forgot. But
so how do you sort of construct
the scene? About the scene. So what happened? What I was going to say is that so in the book we have a scene which is much more graphic and hardcore, the kind of stuff which we didn't want to do also for a movie, because sometimes in a book you can just read and imagine. In a film you see and you may get repulsed by certain things, you know. So which is not good. As a viewer, as a filmmaker, I don't want the viewer to get, you know, repulsed by something, though I need a certain, you need that emotion maybe. So we were thinking how to do it, and after that it was just a matter of constructing the okay, we'll do it like this, where they don't have sex but the husband is shattered because he thinks they've had. If that was the idea, then, after that it's fairly, you sit with your DOP and do the mise-en-scene, so that.
Yeah, you were saying something very interesting a little earlier, which I want to share with everyone. I was asking you, how do you do? It's a very unique way of setting up scene, and it's very thrilling. And Shriram was saying that, you know, it's the FTII team who have the same references, and, you know, there are many things that they are able to sort of refer to and work together to create that kind of mise-en-scène.
Yeah, all my films so far they were largely been FTI technicians. Doesn't mean there are many others who are fab also, but because sort of I know Anil Mehta and Murli was my DOP for 3 films, so I know all of them. So, and also we have seen a lot of shared movie viewing we have done in the institute. So you have a lot of, what do you say, okay, let's do something like that, let's do something like this. I like that movie for this reason. So we are not scared of, okay, holding a shot or, really, like in Badlapur, actually, that scene was there, but the more I'm more happy about one scene, which is the very beginning of the film, where it starts with a bank robbery. So a bank robbery, two guys coming with guns and all, is every director will say, oh great, like great fun. You can do a lot of action, and plus if you want to design it like interestingly, you can do it as a single shot. And in which case we had to sort of probably block the street, and which is we didn't have that kind of resources. So then Anil Mehta and I were talking, and so I don't know whether it was he or I, because when you talk, sometimes it just becomes, it just comes up. We said, okay, so what if it's done like a documentary, where you just hold a camera, as if the camera is a CC camera. The audience thinks, okay, what am I watching? 3-4 minutes, something is going on, but nothing, no emphasis on anything. And actually, if you watch it, you are seeing a whole lot of things happening in the background, but among other things. And I thought it will be a nice way to sort of prepare the viewer for a movie like that, because Badlapur is not a conventionally revenge drama, So I wanted to, in the first 4 minutes, okay, if I'm going to get, this is the way I'm going to get bored, okay, am I prepared or not, kind of thing. Some people may get bored with that lack of cutting kind of a thing,
Yeah.
So I think it's good to sometimes prepare the audience, okay, this is the way this movie is going to be. Like even in Andhadhun, I was very clear that the first 4 minutes or whatever, before the rabbit sequence, is just you see Ayushmann playing the piano and the camera goes up and down, because you see his hands to his face. You don't cut. So that you do cut, of course, but you see his, and you're showing, you're just having a piece and a man playing for 3.5-4 minutes in a small room. The viewer has no choice. First 10 minutes they grant you, they are very generous. Every viewer will say, okay, let's watch. Especially in a hall. At home, I don't know. But so in that few minutes, you sort of, okay, get a sense of this is the way this movie is going to unfold. Stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's very creative. I think mise-en-scène is the hallmark of a director and the style of a director, and yours is very unique, and I think it's very amazing. I want to come to the last part of my question. There's a bit longish, and there are a few questions involved there. You are a Tamilian. Are you a Tamilian?
yeah, I'm a
Okay.
Tamilian, though I've not lived in Chennai or Tamil Nadu for a long time. I mean, I've not lived there at all.
Yeah.
I've just been, but I'm a more Maharashtrian than Tamilian actually.
Right. So yeah, I mean, a name like Raghavan making Hindi film or Shankaran making Hindi film is not very common, but you're doing it quite well. And I have found in all your films there is a reference to South India. There are either characters or situations, which again is not very common in Hindi film, and that that reflects in many films. And you have chosen to call Dharamji as Seshadri. So no, you don't have Seshadri name in Hindi films. My first question is, how did Dharamji react, because he is Viru and all that. So how does he react to being called Seshadri?
I remember we had a chat, and I was asking him, sir, what name should we have for you, So, because, naming a character is also, is great fun to, and so then he said, we were thinking of names. I said, no, I don't know that. This from that movie and all that. Then he said, Ranjit Singh. I said, Ranjit Singh is possible, why not, kind of thing. And I said, but you have played that in Jeevan Mrityu and you played that in something. He said, like, okay, yeah. I mean, in fact, he took it from Jeevan Mrityu, that name. Then I have an uncle called Sheshadri who's a character, So I thought, why not Sheshadri? I mean, just like that. Because, and nobody asked. I mean, you're asking, but I mean, there's no reason except that, I mean, even my mom was wondering, that's my mom's brother. So why do you call him Sheshadri? I said, just like that. So that's the answer.
Yeah, and my father-in-law's brother also incidentally is called Seshadri, but I can't. That gentleman and Dharmender, very different. But we'll stay with this whole thing about South India, which I think is exercising everybody in Bombay today. Is the Hindi films are not doing well compared to the films made in South, and whether it is spectacle, non-spectacle, etc. I think it is just worrying everybody in Bombay. You are very uniquely placed as somebody who understands Tamil and who understands South Indian culture and is yet operating and working in Bombay industry. What is the problem?
in Hindi
In
movies?
why are Hindi films not doing
No,
well,
I
certainly?
think it's just a matter of. I mean, it's a minor phase. I think. I mean, the next good story, the next good film will sort of change all that. What must have happened, because it's happened to all of us. You know, we have been. There's a certain kind of movie which was being made, like for example, the smaller kind of movies, which now is the OTT movie. You know, so as a viewer, as a filmmaker, when I'm writing my next story, also I have to think, okay, do I want people to come to the hall and watch this? In which case, why will they come when they can watch it at home after 3 weeks or 1 month? So I feel, I mean, either you do the big spectacle and do it really well, otherwise there's no use. The spectacle is going to cost money also, or you do a small, maybe even cheap, but a genre piece, you know, which is true to the genre. I think those kind of movies, which are like maybe a horror film will attract, maybe a good thriller will attract, simply because you need that excitement of a cinema hall that will never go. So in this cinema is not dead or anything. It's just that a few movies will, I mean, it'll just change before you know it. And it's been happening like that, you know. So every few years there's something changes and some new kind of a,
Yeah.
so that shake-up is good actually.
And one of the films that may change the scenario a little bit could well be Merry Christmas, which is the film that you're working on. It's very interesting. I was speaking to Madhu Apsara, your sound designer, and it's a film in Hindi and Tamil, two languages.
Yeah.
And he said you are filming in Hindi and you are also filming in Tamil, and sometimes the actors are also different. And this is something that in our knowledge happened at new theaters when they made films in Hindi and Bangla, or even at Prabhat when they made films in Hindi and Marathi. And in a way it happened in Guide, which was first made in English and then subsequently. So how does this work? I mean, it sounds very mind-boggling to me that you do a scene with certain set of actors in Hindi and then you go and do that same scene in Tamil.
No, it's
How does it
actually
work?
maybe a bit of more than I could chew. You know, what happened is it's actually Merry Christmas is a I'm not plugging the movie here, it's still being made, but it's a one night story, and it needs the story required me to have a very, I mean, a fresh, very unusual pairing. And it should not be people who have seen together, you know. And I had seen a few Vijay Sethupathi films. You know, there's a film called 96, and there's Vikram Vedha and all, of course. And I said, why not this guy? You know, and Katrina had spoken to us, and she wanted to work in break her own image or whatever kind of a thing, you know. So I was telling my DOP and all, what if this kind of a combination? So the main thing is it makes people curious. What are these two doing in the film kind of a thing, you know? So now our film got delayed a lot because of the COVID and things like that. And then this sort of smart idea, I think my producer's idea was, or my idea, I don't know, that, you know, why don't we do it? Because Vijay is a Tamil actor and she is a sort of a Hindi film star. So what do we do a Tamil version also, you know? And one option was to do it like many people do. You just do the whole thing in one language and dub it. Except maybe the main actor, except Vijay, who can speak his own lines. The other thing we thought is, this is the extra part we did, where we also cast some other people. I mean, there were not too many other actors in the film. 3-4 other actors. It's a one night story, so locations are limited and so on. So those scenes we sort of have to do repeat. And so there's Vijay and Katrina in both the versions, and the other actors are different. And usually in a good film, there should be half the film should be silent. So in those silent portions, I don't have to reshoot.
Correct.
So it's good. So
Yeah, good films need not have too much chatter. That I totally agree with. I have tons of questions, but I think what we will do now is to just open the floor for your questions, and they will need a mic. Yeah. So just allow me to call you before you start asking the question, so that there is order here. So go ahead. Who wants to ask a question? Okay, here, please. Please do identify yourself by your name.
Hello, sir. My name is Ansh, and I study in MIT School of Film and Television.
Yep.
So I watched Andhadhun quite a while
sit down
back.
and ask question, no problem.
So I watched Andhadhun quite a while ago, and I wanted to ask whether, while writing the story, did you develop the ending, or you had an keep it that ambiguity, whether it's her eyes or whether it's someone else's, or how did he end up not being blind, and that.
I've answered this too often, so but let me try. No, actually we had a broad thought that the end, I mean, when you're writing a movie, you should get a sense of the end, otherwise you can't write properly, you know. So we knew it should, my thing was ideally it should end ambiguously, but I had no idea how it is going to arrive there. So that was a process of trial and error till almost the last week of shooting. We were trying to do things. Then eventually, it sort of, even though it worked out, but it could have just worked the other way. It could not have worked also. I was prepared for people saying, समझ में नहीं आया, क्या है? So I was prepared for that, but luckily we got away.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Who else now? Who wants to ask a question? All right. Your name before you ask.
Sir, my name is Siddhant Rajput and I am coming from Aurangabad, MGM Film School. Sir, today is the last day of this broadcast. So, from morning to till this time, I only watch technical things about cameras and all that DI and technical all things. But when I watch you in front of eyes, you are the first person in film industry that personally I watch very closely. So you make my day today. And
Hey, thank you.
so, thank you, sir.
You have a question? No, just,
Thank you very much for saying that. Is there any other question? There is, I can see Akhil from Film Institute here. Is there anybody else from FTII here? Yeah, okay, great. Yes, I recognize you. Do you have a question for Sriram? Just reach the mic to them when they want to ask a question. Who else in the meantime?
you can ask till they ask.
No, I am very amazed at, so this is what happens. If Dharamji is saying Vikram Singh in Jeevan Mrityu, you remember it. That's amazing that you have seen Jeevan Mrityu and you remember what Dharamji is being called in that film. That's what I meant by, saying you've seen so many films and you remember so many films is quite mind-boggling.
Now, actually, the thing is now the films you see in a certain age, now they become very tattooed in your head, Later on, nowadays I watch so many films, but I won't remember day by day what did I see, it's like that. So that happens. Unless it's a fantastic film, in which case, of course, you'll remember. But so much we see and all got into the habit of, okay, let's check this out. At home you can check it out. So that's the trouble. Whereas the hall is an investment.
Yeah, that's true. That's very
I have a question, Pankaj. This
Sorry,
is Manoj here.
who's that?
This
Who's
side,
that?
right
Okay,
side.
all right. Okay, yeah, Manoj.
Yeah.
So, you have been doing script writing for web series as well as feature films. Now, web series is episodic in nature and feature films is like a 3-hour movie. So, how different is your approach when you write for OTT web series and for a feature film, and how much time does it take?
See, actually, I have not written for web series. I have not yet got into that zone. But I have a lot of friends who are writing web series, but I have not written. And I think it's one of my favorite series is Breaking Bad, and that is like a film every episode. I used to tell people ki you just study this series and that's like institute by itself, because it's got so many kinds of cinematic technique and all that. But I have not written any web series, but I know it for some people it will be like making, I was just talking to a director day before yesterday. So he said ki don't get into web series. It's like making 3 films at one time, so it's like that. So,
because in the morning, Pankaj had a very interesting session on In Search of a Perfect Script. So, is there any basic ground rule that defines a good script?
Yeah.
Of course. I don't know whether there's any particular rule because every script would be different. But my technique is what I do, when it's right from the story, when it's in fairly in shape, I have a few people who I narrate it to and see how it. So it's like a evolving process, So by the time my script is ready to shoot, there are enough people who have told me what is not working, what is working, and what is not working. You change it even before you. So I'm very sometimes my co-writers don't like it. Well, I'll give the script to somebody, read, tell me what is wrong with it, what is not working. So we keep trying to better it on paper itself, It's a little time consuming, but it's very useful. Most time what I feel what happens in Bombay industry is, people believe in that bound script kind of thing. Of course, you should have a bound script, of course. But what I mean is the script is written, it's bound, it's almost now production starts, prep starts, everything starts. And that's exactly what you shoot. Whereas in 6-8 months after you wrote the script, so many things would have changed within yourself, within the script which you may. So I feel it's always good to, keep it a little, keep that little window of, something may change, something may be dropped, within the same story, of course. So I don't really bind the script.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, who else you want to ask? Yeah.
So my name is Jamshid, and I am from Kerala. So we have seen a lot of technology transformation in the post-production area and in the equipment things. But how is the pre-production and production planning thing is going to help with the technology? How is technology is going to affect in the pre-production or the while the scripting stage or the scheduling stage, coming to the shooting schedules and everything? How is technology is going to help?
I see. I don't know how technology would help in the scripting and in that stage, simply because a lot of that is you sitting with your computer and writing and creating, imagining things, But at some point, like I'll give it. It's easier for me to give an example. I'm doing a film now, which is a war film, which is set in the 1970s. Now, if I want, I need Centurion tanks. I need Punjab landscapes. I need something else. Now, I am not going to get all this in one place, So how do I do it? I have been battling with this myself. So when Chaitanya's session was going on, I was like, okay, I need to meet this guy properly and have a chat with him. So, whereas the earlier films, they could actually, when you see, there's a great film I'll tell you about called Weekend at Dunkirk, not the Nolan film. There's a film called Weekend at Dunkirk. Try and sort of find it. And it's by a director. It's got Belmondo, and it's directed by a guy called Henry Verneuil. Now that film, I would like to know how much of that is, because it all looks real, and of course it was made in the 60s, so it is possible that they really had all those the armament and the choppers and all that. But today you don't have it. And all of us, when we watch a trailer also, we know, oh, this is VFX. So we sort of, VFX is actually, for me, a lot of it is like, it just looks fake. Because we know it is VFX. So whatever you're doing, I know this is not real. Whereas when you see an earlier Bond film, you get the thrill of, oh my God, somebody was actually there, somebody was actually jumped over this and kind of thing. So, but I have to get used to VFX, and you try to make it such that you don't realize it's VFX. That is the hard part.
Hello, sir. My name is Nemi Gadda, and I'm doing third year mass media. My question was that it's regarding your experience. How do you create a good team? Like, how do you recognize that this person, he can be a good DOP, he can do it?
How DOP or a good team?
Like, and a good team. How do you form a good film team?
Well, every film must depend on not just one person, it's a whole bunch of people. That's where you have to be, you have to really take your time, also be lucky, and a whole lot of things. You look for the best people, of course, people who are also able to work with you. There are, all these things will happen sometimes, ego issues and all this will happen, but you have to find a way to deal with it. And often I feel that the director is the biggest actor on the set, because I don't know what, I will be hating you, but you will never know it.
I have one related question to this one. Your crew is fairly stable in the sense it's you work with same people often, and some of your minor actors are also repeated, but you do not repeat your heroes at all, never.
No, they're not heroes. None of my films have got heroes. If you look at it, they're all thugs mostly. Or people who are characters actually. They are not. You choose a person because he suits that character, or he seems to be an interesting sort of actor for that particular character. So there is no question of asking the person next time unless a similar character happens. So I have worked with Saif Ali Khan in 2 movies.
You have, absolutely. I think your relationship with Saif Ali Khan is very interesting. I find him doing excellent work in your film. But Neel Nitin Mukesh, was that his first film that he did? Where did you find
that
him?
was his first film. But there I wanted somebody who, because I didn't want somebody who's got some kind of an image of, okay, this guy usually plays good guys, or this guy usually plays bad guys. So I wanted a new guy. So he was there and he met me, and I said, why not? Kind of a thing, And then of course we worked with him for a couple of months and workshopped and all that.
Yeah, and he's a very innocent face, so I think it was amazing casting, because you were really hoping that he would not do that, what he did. Yeah, so sorry for that. Any other? Who else? Somebody is raising their hand. There's some mic somewhere.
Sir, what is the basic rules to be best director? to learn.
Sorry, sir, where are you?
Sir, I'm Simon Batula. I'm technician. I am since into 1990 in the Bollywood. I'm learning. I'm not into any media. What is it called? FTI and this. I'm practical person. I associated with Kiran Devan's.
No, tell me the directors you love, and I'm sure there will be something common in all of them, you know. So there are no rules. I mean, there are horrible people who make great films, good people who make bad films. Everything is allowed. So
Thank you, sir. That's but basic rules for the script and direction. We require the script to getting the actors' reactions continue, though following the things. तो बेसिक मतलब ज़्यादा किस पे मतलब डायरेक्टर को फॉलो
हिंदी में बोलिए, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं.
हाँ नहीं थोड़ा आई एम फ्रॉम साउथ हैदराबाद सिंस इन स्टे इन द 30 ईयर. हाँ सर, वही सवाल यही है कि सर बेस्ट डायरेक्टर बनने के लिए ज़्यादा बेसिक रूल्स मतलब किस पे ध्यान देते हैं आप? जैसे आप नेशनल अवार्ड विनर है, तो जैसा आपका स्क्रिप्ट कंटेंट है, हमको मालूम है कि आप किस मतलब कैटेगरी जो स्टोरी के हिसाब से कैरेक्टर चुनते हैं, एक्टर एक्ट्रेस जो भी वॉट एवर, तो जो मतलब एक्शन उनसे लेना, काम लेना जो
नहीं, वो एक्चुअली सब कुछ शुरू होता है स्क्रिप्ट से और वहाँ से ना, और उसके बाद मतलब अच्छे डायरेक्टर्स भी कभी कभी ऐसे फिल्म बनाते हैं जो अच्छी नहीं है. वो क्यों होता है? क्योंकि मतलब नोबडी वांट्स टू बाय चांस डेलिबरेटली डू समथिंग नॉट गुड. सो वो कभी कभी हो जाता है फॉर वॉट एवर रीजन्स. वो मतलब वही मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि इफ यू नेम 5 फिल्म मेकर्स यू लव, आई एम श्योर उनका भी कोई बेस्ट वर्क होगा, कोई नॉट सो गुड वर्क होगा. आई लव हिचकॉक. Now, Hitchcock has also got some films which don't work as much, you know, but even his films that don't work are very interesting compared to many other films. So,
हेलो सर, नमस्ते. मेरा नाम चंदन सिंह है और मैं सिनेमाटोग्राफर हूँ. श्रीराम सर से एक क्वेश्चन है. सर, आप अपने डीपी का चयन कैसे करते हैं? आपके लिए क्या इंपॉर्टेंट होता है एक डीपी में?
डीपी में
यस.
नहीं, वही होता है कि मतलब नॉर्मली हम नरेट करते हैं ना. क्या होता है, व्हेन यू हैव अ स्क्रिप्ट देन यू से ओके, आई सपोज आई एम राइट नाउ गोइंग टू वर्क विद अनिल मेहता सपोज, सो आई विल टॉक टू, सिंस ही इज कमिंग आई एम सेइंग हिज नेम, तो यू नरेट द स्क्रिप्ट एंड सी हाउ वी कनेक्ट, कैसा कनेक्ट होता है, कुछ कनेक्शन आ रहा है क्या. देन यू वो डिस्कशन से ही मालूम पड़ता है कि इज दिस पर्सन राइट, इज ही एंजॉइंग द फिल्म, डज ही हैव अ थॉट अबाउट इट, और वो क्या उसका, क्योंकि फिल्म कहानी क्या होता है, अभी जब किताब में पढ़ते हैं ना, तो मैं जब पढ़ता हूँ एक सीन, तो मैं कुछ सोच रहा हूँ, आप कुछ सोचेंगे, कोई और कुछ देखेगा, ना सब तीनों के मन में कुछ एक विजुअल होगा. तो ये जितना हम लोग मतलब आई वुड लव अ फ्रेश अप्रोच, आई वुड लाइक, सो इट्स अ कॉम्बिनेशन. मतलब बहुत चीज़ें देखते हैं हम लोग अदर देन टाइम एंड बजट एंड ऑल दैट ऑफ कोर्स.
सर, एक और क्वेश्चन है इसी से रिलेटेड. आपके साथ अभी ऐसा कभी हुआ है क्या कि आपने किसी डीपी के साथ एक मीटिंग किया, आपने नैरेट किया, उन्होंने अपना फीडबैक दिया एंड वो गए और आपका माइंड सडनली चेंज हो गया, ओके ये बंदा सेट नहीं हो सकता है, मैं कुछ और, बजट की बात मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ, विजुअल्स की बात कर रहा हूँ अकॉर्डिंग टू योर व्यू पॉइंट?
ना, मेरे साथ ऐसा हुआ नहीं, लेकिन ये हो सकता है. मतलब ऐसा ये किसी और टेक्नीशियन के साथ हुआ होगा ऐसा, कि मतलब कहानी सुनने के बाद एक्टर के साथ हुआ होगा. कभी कभी होता है कि एक एक्टर को मैंने कुछ रोल सुनाया, उन्होंने ना बोलते बोलते कुछ अच्छी चीज़ बोल दी जो मुझे हेल्प होगा फिल्म में. तो ऐसा भी होता है कभी कभी.
और सर, न्यू डीपी के लिए आपके लिए क्या सुझाव है, किस तरीके से, चूँकि आप लोग ऑलरेडी काफ़ी टाइम से काम कर रहे हैं, और जैसे मैं अभी रिसेंटली एक छोटा वेब सीरीज़ किया हूँ, राइट, मिशन काशी, तो अभी हम लोगों के लिए क्या होता है कि हम आप लोगों के पास अप्रोच लेकर नहीं पहुँच सकते क्योंकि वो पॉसिबल नहीं होता है. तो बेस्ट वे क्या है पॉसिबल होने के लिए?
आप थोड़ा देर रहिए इधर, अभी नेक्स्ट सेशन में 4 डीपी आएंगे, तो उनको पूछिए, वो बेटर बताएंगे.
थैंक यू सर.
आगे दे दीजिए, पूछना चाह रहे.
Hello sir, my name is Jenny and I'm from Delhi and studying at Rohtak State Film Institute. मैं आपसे राइटिंग से रिलेटेड एक क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहता हूँ. मैंने ऑब्ज़र्व किया कि आपकी फिल्म्स ज़्यादा फ्रिक्वेंटली नहीं आती हैं, साल 2 साल 3 साल में आती हैं, पर अभी के काफ़ी सारे राइटर्स हैं जो बहुत फ्रिक्वेंटली लिखते हैं फिल्म्स को और हर साल शूट करते हैं. तो अभी एक बॉयकॉट ट्रेंड चल रहा था, तो उसमें बॉयकॉट ही एक रीज़न था उन फिल्म्स के फ्लॉप होने का, या आपको लगता है कंटेंट कहीं ना कहीं था रीज़न?
नहीं, मुझे लगता है हमेशा कंटेंट इज़ द मेन थिंग, यू नो. अगर कंटेंट ज़बरदस्त नहीं है तो फिर देयर आर इनफ रीज़न. मैंने एक फिल्म बनाई थी एजेंट विनोद, तो वो चली नहीं, लेकिन उसमें तभी कोई ऐसा बॉयकॉट कुछ था नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं था वो, लेकिन चली नहीं, क्यों नहीं चली? क्योंकि जब लोगों ने देखा होगा उनको उतना मज़ा नहीं आया जितना मतलब नॉर्मली दे वुड एक्सपेक्ट, यू नो। तो वही फिल्म में मैं, क्योंकि अभी उस टाइम में मैं बहुत शॉक हो गया था, अरे नहीं चली ये फिल्म। बाद में धीरे धीरे मालूम पड़ता है कि क्यों नहीं चल रही है, नो, इसमें ये है। तो आपने देखी है वो फिल्म एजेंट विनोद?
यस यस।
हाँ, तो कुछ लोगों को अच्छा भी लगता है, उस फिल्म में काफ़ी कुछ अच्छा भी है, मैं ये नहीं बोलूँगा कि इट्स टोटल एनजी, बट उस टाइम में इट बिकेम अ वेरी एग्जॉस्टिंग फिल्म, और बहुत कुछ कहना चाहते थे हम लोग। कभी कभी ऐसा होता है, कभी कभी बहुत कम बोलते हैं, इसलिए आई मीन देयर आर डिफरेंट रीजंस व्हाई अ मूवी डजंट वर्क, बट आई डोंट नो वेदर इट्स बिकॉज ऑफ एनी बॉयकॉट।
ओके।
Hi sir, this is Devendra. I just wanted to ask that when you come from a film school, how do you make the difference between the international cinema, because you get a lot of exposure to Tarkovsky, Godard and everything, and I've seen my friends and everybody inclining to the foreign cinema, the world cinema, and then criticizing the industry in which we have to stay, and you don't have the balance. You start getting that, criticizing the world in which you are going to stay. So how do you balance this and got to a stage right now? Because I could relate to the mirth thing that you said, because once in a session when somebody had asked which director you like, I said David Dhawan, and everybody started popping their eyes. So the same thing had happened with me also. So how do you balance, and how did you got with people and gelled with people, because your work with FTIs, everybody?
See, in the FTI, or even now, everybody can see there's a whole lot of world cinema available for everybody, anywhere. उस टाइम में तो it was very sort of in the institute मिलता था, कभी film society में मिलता था. So I think I mean, if you are a film lover and you enjoy films, then you will, I mean, for me, what happened now, because I've grown up on Shakti Samanta and Vijay Anand and all that, you know. So finally, I know I'm making a film for an Indian audience. Like many times, my films, you know, like Andhadhun, for example, all the references to Anil Dhawan and those songs and all, only an Indian audience, especially an audience which has sort of seen those films, or at least knows about Chitrahar and all that, you know, they will be able to get. A foreigner may not get it. So it is not designed for any, okay, I'm trying to appeal to X or Y. No, you're trying to appeal to as many people as you can. And Andhadhun, when it did well in China, I was quite surprised myself. कि क्यों चली वो, लेकिन चली.
Like we are running out of time. If there's any final.
Hi sir.
One second. Sorry. He's
sorry.
just not.
He's still
doesn't have a
asking.
mic, huh?
I've seen that you are always, bombarded by foreign cinema, because the exposure has to be there. But the people tend to, when they pass out with these 3 years, tend to get more of a foreign person than Indian.
Yeah, but that may be certain people, you know, it depends on the individual kind of a thing, you know. But I feel the entry of, जब जैसा अभी in the south, when there was a sort of a fresh wave of, new filmmakers and all came, they all, where did they get their, their whole education from those, those DVDs, जो pirated DVDs आते थे ना, वो 40 rupees each, and we used to all buy those things. So all those films, the more you watch, the more your mind will be open, na? Nothing else. So with your open mind, you can do so much more.
Right. Thank you.
उनको दे दीजिए.
Hello sir, one more question about Andhadhun is, how did you work with Ayushman? As in, like, you let him improv all the scenes, like where he was acting blind, you let him improv, or you instructed him on how to do it or where to do it?
See, with a good actor, you let them do maximum on their own, and then unless it's something not working, you don't you don't sort of detail, you don't over direct anybody. You should not over direct even a new actor, but so you just let him do his things, and some actors can improvise, and they improvise. Like Nawaz is an improviser. Ayushman also can improvise. Some people can't improvise, So, unko, you have to give them the real, okay, say it like this, say it like that, whatever. But then try and be. They are good actors, so but they don't want to improvise. It's a matter of different people.
Thank you, sir.
So we've run out of time now completely. I began by saying how many of you do not know Sri Ram Raghavan, and most people said they do. So we should ask you the same question again. How many of you do not know Sri Ram Raghavan? nobody is raising their hands, then this session was useful. I also want to thank Sriram for coming and doing this in the middle of his production. He's really neck deep into Merry Christmas right now. He was editing last evening till very long. So thank you very much for taking time off and for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me, and I got a chance to come to this this whole show. It was fab. So and thank you all. It was good fun. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Mr. Sriram. Thank you, Mr. Pankaj. That was a fascinating session. I would now request both of you all to come down, and we would like to give you a small token, a memento in appreciation of your participation.